Far Cry 5. If you're familiar with this Far Cry franchise that's been around since 2004, it's this open world where it usually has been taking you to these tropical settings where you can ride a multitude of vehicles, get all these different weapons, and fight with these very intriguing and deep characters, and kind of see a world that's being torn apart by either militia or corrupt government officials or a variety of other terrible things happening in the world. What I think the Far Cry series has really excelled at is giving you villains that you care about, especially in the promotion, because some of them, once you actually play the game, don't really get enough screen time. I'm thinking of Pagan Min, who, when it was first launched and voiced by Troy Baker, thought he would be this really deep, incredible character. He was barely the focus of the game, which was sad. But we all think of Voss in Far Cry 3, and he was just this crazy character that you never knew what was going to happen, and it made for a very exciting moment that gave you some weight and some things to do while you're out just kind of messing around and exploring this crazy world. But Far Cry 5 brings it to America for the first time, and more specifically, Hope County, Montana. You take the role of a junior deputy, and there's this doomsday cult called Project at Eden's Gate that's taking over this county, and it's led by this man named Joseph. His whole mission is to take this county under his control because he believes that the government is facing an imminent collapse. I know there's a lot of people in our current society may be feeling the same way, and it's a interesting parallel to real world. And speaking with the developers, they've said that they're not trying to really do a commentary on it, but the parallels are pretty unmistakable, and I'm sure this will spark a lot of debates between gamers and non-gamers alike. Whenever these crazy, divisive storylines appear in gaming, usually the non-gaming media picks up on them because they like these taglines and they like hearing about the scandals and what can make people tune in and start screaming on Facebook about. So it'll be interesting to see the fallout of this game, because I think it's an interesting concept to see this idyllic or peaceful town being taken over by this group and being corrupted, and seeing how you are able to solve it. Now, as this junior deputy, it's up to you to kind of form a resistance and take back Hope County. And along the way, you're going to be meeting some very interesting allies, like Pastor Jerome, whose church was taken over basically by this Project at Eden's Gate. He led the followers of the church to his cult, and now Jerome is trying to keep this church sacred and hopefully win back the hearts of the people and stop them from being disillusioned by this crazy cult. And there are 3 ally trailers, which the other 2 I'll get to in a second. But Pastor Jerome's was interesting because he was reading what you think is a Bible, but the pages are cut out and there is a pistol in there. So he's not afraid to go to extreme measures to make sure that his land is not corrupted. Now, one of the other characters that we're introduced to is Mary May. And in the video, we join her at a bar that was once her father's, and her father was killed by this cult. And we hear that her mother and her brother go missing, so maybe they were taken or they have joined the cult. We're still not really sure. During this introduction to her character, she's talking and there's nice music going on, but she is making Molotov cocktails and preparing her bar and preparing to take her town back. And lastly, we're introduced to Nick Rye, who is a pilot and a soon-to-be father, whose father and grandfather fought for the United States in the World Wars. And he's afraid that this world, and more specifically this county, won't be here when his new unborn son or daughter arrives. So you'll be working with these 3 characters and most likely a lot more to take back Hope County. And doing so is, well, where the Far Cry fun comes in. Not only will you be able to get in big rigs and cars and boats, but you're actually going to be able to use planes this time. You'll be able to take advantage of these guns and fans for hire, as they're called, where you're going to be able to recruit people and animal groups to do your bidding, as it were. And what's maybe most exciting is the game can be played in single player or full 2-player co-op. So you'll be able to bring a player along and I'm sure jump in, jump out, join at different parts of the story and experience this tale of redemption with a friend. So the game isn't being released until February 27th, 2018, which is actually my birthday, which gives me a pretty good excuse to pick this up on launch day. And while we've only gotten our first look at it, I bet you at E3, hopefully there'll be some hands-on or really get to see what makes this game tick. Because my history with the Far Cry franchise is one of great interest at the beginning, and I jump into the games and I love them, but I tend to kind of fade off as it goes on because it feels a little bit of the same. I don't know. I like the stories and the world, but something just doesn't pull me in completely. I love the hype train going up to it and the build up and hearing about the characters and the world, and it all sounds very interesting. But once I get into the game, while it's fun for a while, these games are so big and massive that it doesn't hold my interest for whatever reason. The most recent one I played, obviously, was Far Cry Primal, and that actually had a different issue. Because what I loved about Far Cry Primal is you had to use bow and arrows and sneak around, and you were really at a disadvantage. But after a while, you get pretty powerful, and that tension and fear kind of goes away, and then it actually felt like the other Far Cry games to a point. So I like the stories, but I've actually not completed one in ever, probably. And I would love to do that because I like these games, but as I've said in previous shows, I love playing new things, and there's new things coming out all the time, and my interest gets ping-ponged very, very easily. But this looks interesting. I like the take on it. I mean, I like the real-world ties, vaguely or otherwise, that kind of ground it in reality and make you think, because that's what I look for in games. I love stories that challenge your perception or challenge your point of view, and I hope they really dive into this and aren't afraid to tackle some sad, scary subjects. So we'll see what happens with Far Cry 5, but I'm curious, are you interested in Far Cry? What is your history with the franchise? Will you be jumping into Hope County and trying to take back what is rightfully yours once this launches on February 27th? Let me know below, and who knows, maybe one day we'll be playing co-op together. And that's Far Cry 5. Now, if you would like to be a part of the Gamers Advocate family, please like us on Facebook. Please follow us at Twitter at Gamers Advocate. Please send us an email, adam@thegamersadvocate.com. Subscribe below, review us in iTunes, become a part of the family, like I said. If you want to follow me, I'm at Adam Bankhurst. I'm very excited about next week because not only is it the week before E3, but next show will be all about my E3 predictions. I'm very excited to do that, and I'm very excited to probably be wrong on every single one of them, but it'll be fun to do and look back once E3 is over. And the following week, when E3 happens, I will be in LA on the show floor, bringing you all the coverage and talking about all my feelings of the incredible titles that will undoubtedly be shown at the Video Game Super Bowl, as I like to call it. So once again, I want to thank you for joining us as we explore all the incredible topics in the world of video games, and I hope you have an incredible day and or night. Thank you.